All right, give it a go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm playing host this week because Samantha's computer has decided to go on strike. So she's on her phone this morning. So we are in the book, Midnight in the in the library by Matt Haig. And we are going to be starting page 17 with how to be a black hole. But first, I'm going to let everybody jump out and introduce themselves before we get started. And then, Catherine, if you would read for us, if you don't mind, you do such a great job all the time. So go ahead and jump out, everybody, and introduce yourselves.
Hey, good morning. Jason Roberts from Tampa Bay, Florida. Glad to be here. Looking forward to it.
Lori Emmons in Denver, and also glad to be here.
Angel Studebaker down here in South Carolina.
That's Samantha up here in Indiana. Good to be here.
Okay, I think we got everybody. This is Catherine Clement, and I'll be reading this morning, How to Be a Black Hole. And if you are here for the first time today, our videos are available for you to go back and catch up on the beginning of this book if you missed it. We're only on page 17, so you haven't missed a whole lot, but the way this starts out with every chapter, if you haven't read previous or know what's going on, it wouldn't make much sense. But anyway, get caught up. How to Be a Black Hole. 7 hours before she decided to die, Nora was in free fall, and she had no one to talk to. Her last hope was her former best friend, Izzy, who was over 10,000 miles away in Australia, and things had dried up between them, too. She took out her phone and sent Izzy a message. Hi, Izzy. Long time no chat. Miss you, friend. Would be wondrous to catch up. X. She added another X and sent it. Within a minute, Izzy had seen the message. Nora waited in vain for 3 dots to appear. She passed the cinema where a new Ryan Bailey film was playing tonight, a corny cowboy rom-com called Last Chance Saloon. Ryan Bailey's face seemed to always know deep and significant things. Nora had loved him ever since she'd watched him play a brooding Plato in the Athenians on TV, and since he'd said in an interview that he'd studied philosophy. She'd imagined them having deep conversations about Henry David Thoreau through a veil of steam in his West Hollywood hot tub. Can everyone hear me? Just saw Samantha's. Yeah, you can hear me. I think it's
I can hear
you. Okay, I think it's your connection, Samantha. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams, Thoreau had said. Live the life you've imagined. Thoreau had been her favorite philosopher to study, but who seriously goes confidently in the direction of their dreams? Well, apart from Thoreau. He'd gone and lived in the woods with no contact from the outside world, to just sit there and write and chop wood and fish. But life was probably simpler 2 centuries ago in Concord, Massachusetts than modern life in Bedfordshire. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe she was just really crap at it, at life. Whole hours passed by. She wanted to have a purpose, something to give her a reason to exist, but she had nothing. Not even the small purpose of picking up Mr. Banerjee's medication, as she had done that 2 days ago. She tried to give a homeless man some money, but realized she had no money. Cheer up, love. It might never happen, someone said. Nothing ever did, she thought to herself. That was the whole problem. Antimatter. 5 hours before she decided to die, as she began walking home, her phone vibrated in her hand. Maybe it was Izzy. Maybe Robbie had told her brother to get in touch. No. Oh, hi, Doreen. An agitated voice. Where were you? She'd totally forgotten. What time is it? I've had a really crap day. I'm so sorry. We waited outside your flat for an hour. I can still do Leo's lesson when I get back. I'll be 5 minutes. Too late. He's with his dad now for 3 days. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She was a waterfall of apologies. She was drowning in herself. To be honest, Nora, he's been thinking about giving up altogether. But he's so good. He's really enjoyed it, but he's too busy. Exams, mates, football. Something has to give. He has a real talent. I've got him into bloody Chopin. Please. A deep, deep sigh. Bye, Nora. Nora imagined the ground opening up, sending her down through the lithosphere and the mantle, not stopping until she reached the inner core, compressed into a hard, unfeeling metal. 4 hours before she decided to die, Nora passed her elderly neighbor, Mr. Banerjee. Mr. Banerjee was 84 years old. He was frail, but was slightly more mobile since his hip surgery. It's terrible out, isn't it? Yes, mumbled Nora. He glanced at his flower bed. The irises are out, though. She looked at the clusters of purple flowers, forcing a smile as she wondered what possible consolation they could offer. His eyes were tired behind their spectacles. He was at his door, fumbling for keys, a bottle of milk, and a carrier bag that seemed too heavy for him. It was rare to see him out of the house, a house she had visited during her first month here to help him set up an online grocery shop. Oh, he said now, I have some good news. I don't need you to collect my pills anymore. The boy from the chemist has moved nearby and he says he will drop them off. Nora tried to reply but couldn't get the words out. She nodded instead. He managed to open the door, then closed it, retreating into his shrine to his dear dead wife. That was it. No one needed her. She was superfluous to the universe. Once inside her flat, the silence was louder than noise. The smell of cat food, a bowl still out for Voltaire, half eaten. She got herself some water and swallowed 2 antidepressants and stared at the rest of the pills, wondering. 3 hours before she decided to die, her whole being ached with regret, as if the despair in her mind was somehow in her torso and limbs too, as if it had colonized every part of her. It reminded her that everyone was better off without her. You get near a black hole and the gravitational pull drags you into its bleak, dark reality. The thought was like a ceaseless mind cramp, something too uncomfortable to bear, yet too strong to avoid. Nora went through her social media. No messages, no comments, no new followers, no friend requests. She was antimatter with added self-pity. She went on Instagram and saw everyone had worked out how to live except her. She posted a rambling update on Facebook, which she didn't even really use anymore. 2 hours before she decided to die, she opened a bottle of wine. Old philosophy textbooks looked down at her, ghost furnishings from her university days when life still had possibility. A yucca plant and 3 tiny, squat potted cacti. She imagined being a non-sentient life form sitting in a pot all day was probably an easier existence. She sat down at the little electric piano but played nothing. She thought of sitting by Leo's side, teaching him Chopin's prelude in E minor. Happy moments can turn into pain given time. There was an old musician's cliche about how there were no wrong notes on a piano, but her life was a cacophony of nonsense. A piece that could have gone in wondrous directions, but now went nowhere at all. Time slipped by. She stared into space. After the wine, a realization hit her with total clarity. She wasn't made for this life. Every move had been a mistake, every decision a disaster, every day a retreat from who she'd imagined she'd be. swimmer, musician, philosopher, spouse, traveler, glaciologist, happy, loved, nothing. She couldn't even manage cat owner, or 1 hour a week piano tutor, or human capable of conversation. The tablets weren't working. She finished the wine, all of it. I miss you, she said into the air, as if the spirits of every person she'd loved were in the room with her. She called her brother and left a voicemail when he didn't pick up. I love you, Joe. I just wanted you to know that. There's nothing you could have done. This is about me. Thank you for being my brother. I love you. Bye. It began to rain again, so she sat there with the blinds open, staring at the drops on the glass. The time was now 22 minutes past 11. She knew only one thing with absolute certainty. She didn't want to reach tomorrow. She stood up. She found a pen and a piece of paper. It was, she decided, a very good time to die.
I think,
Dear,
oh, I was going to
dear
say,
whoever, let me finish this chapter, please. Dear whoever, I had all the chances to make something of my life, and I blew every one of them. Through my own carelessness and misfortune, the world has retreated from me, and so now it makes perfect sense that I should retreat from the world. If I felt it was possible to stay, I would, but I don't, and so I can't. I make life worse for people. I have nothing to give. I'm sorry. Be kind to each other. Bye, Nora. Okay, that's it.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn on my phone to the next. I didn't realize there was that little part, so my apologies on that part. I was just going to say, I think now with that being read, I think we have quite a bit here that can be unpacked, and I'll throw it out to you guys first. I do have some thoughts, but I'll throw it out to you guys to see if anybody has any thoughts to start us off.
Ooh, can we talk about social media and what an effect that has on so many people's lives, especially our children? Oh my goodness. But not just our children, so many adults, their daily lives are consumed with social media, and they're constantly, excuse me, comparing themselves against all these other people, which so many people first of all, misrepresent themselves on social media. So, you don't even know if that person is being true about themselves, but then you got all these people doing deep fakes and shit. So you don't even know what's even real. And yet there are people that are contemplating suicide because they don't feel like they are enough because of what they see on social media.
I will agree on that. And I was going to say, starting with how to be a black hole and then going into antimatter. I know for me, being single all my adult life, and I've had relationships, but I also kind of get some of what she's saying here and stuff because I've been really fighting with this again a lot lately. Is ever since my accident last year, I've been really dealing with a lot of stress and a lot of things. And there have been moments where I honestly feel like there's nobody I can, and there is, I know there is, but it's me putting up that kind of false sense of that what I'm thinking is really not really true, but yet that's the thoughts that can take over. I think that was part of what was Nora's problem. She let so much of her thoughts take over the reality of what there was in life out there. But you can get so caught up in your own head games that you and you keep hearing that more than letting anything else in. And so sometimes, you know, unless you have good friends that like, you know, that's why I love this group. I can come here, I can share. I've got a couple other friends. So it helps me, you know, and I think it helps all of us, you know, find a balance in a way to kind of let things out too. But I think that's, you know, one of the things that has happened to us over the last 50 years is because there's so much available to us and so much connection, but we're not connected like we once were. Because like here, I don't really know any of my neighbors, but when I was growing up, you know, in my mom's house and everything, we knew all the neighbors, we knew everybody. We, you know, we got out, we, you know, kept eyes on each other more and stuff. But yet now we're all retreating, and we all, like you said, Catherine, we all go to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these things to say, oh, well, this is what my life is supposed to be like. But in reality, it really shouldn't be. It should be more of what it is interacting with people around us. And I think that's where people can get very isolated, and that's not a good thing, I think.
It is a very fine line between I guess it's not such a fine line, but the difference between reality and living life and what you see on social media. There's just so much there. It's hard to really believe anything anybody says. And so that's a constant response I have. I said, well, when we can meet in person, and I'll talk to you about that or whatever, but to have them there just gushing, oh, I love you so much. And I'm like, you're so full of the doo-doo, you don't have a chance with me. And it's hard not to let that monkey mind that we all have, that self-talk, that chatter that's always going on in your mind, to take over and cause you maybe to commit suicide because you don't feel like enough, like you don't measure up, like you're not worthy, like you're not all that everybody is portraying on there, and it's all so fake. So it seems that it would be easier if we just went back to survival of the fittest. And even though to me that I'm already gone because I could not survive if it was that way. Can't run, can't feed myself really. I could that way maybe, because I'm just grazing off the land, and maybe that's more the way it is. The more we have available to us to make life easier. I mean, I got a robot vacuum cleaner, and it kind of is the transition between life super hard and the caveman and the Jetsons. I don't know, let's see what else we can invent to help us make it through here.
I think it goes a lot back to perspective and what you choose to pursue and what you choose to be your ideal that you're looking to pursue. You know, and whether or not you're going to take control of your perspective and your mindset, and you know, where is your focus? Where is the individual person's focus? Is it on, are they constantly focusing on the inside, in their mind, in their head, in their body, in their own world, or on the outside and outwardly? And I don't mean like on the media and the social media and what everybody else is doing. That's another, you know, where your focus is. Your focus out there? Is your focus in your head where you're being pessimistic? Or are you, or in this case for this character, it seems like she's focusing so much inward, where her perspective is pessimistic and negative instead of positive, rather than focusing on on her actual reality, not social media, but the things that she's doing in her life, where she individually could be making an impact and choosing a positive perspective. For, you know, she's kind of like, it seems like she's withdrawn into herself and focusing on the negative, and letting everything that's going on for her outside in her real life go by the wayside. You know, she's forgetting that she has these appointments to, you know, teach this kid who she, at the last second, she realizes she really enjoyed teaching. You know, she's realizing that she has had all these events in her life that hasn't quite come to fruition, and she's focusing on how, you know, that it hasn't come to fruition, rather than going, wait a second, what is the common denominator? Why didn't I follow through with these things? And what can I make the change? And how can I make that change going forward? You know, so I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay, I'm gonna do what I love doing best. How would you play devil's? Well, I'm gonna play devil's. How would you, if you had a friend who was like Nora, who was so in that world and so to that point, what would you do? What would you say? How would you respond to her, knowing that she's going to continue and keep responding the way she responds, that probably no matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter how you approach it, she's going to continue to be that way? Now, saying that, I know you can't physically tell her or make her do anything, but when you have somebody like that, that's like that, how do you help them see past that, even though you know they're not going to see past that? What do you do? Because,
well, first you got to get them to want to. You got to get them to want that change. If they're just wanting to complain, then that's what they're going to constantly be doing. But if they come to a point where they want the change, if anybody comes to the point that they actually want it, then they have to make a sacrifice, and that sacrifice is sacrificing being the victim, sacrificing being able to say, oh, well, I'm, you know, woe is me, and saying, wait, I'm going to, you know, stop this and figure out how to move forward. And you recognize, like you're saying, they've got the momentum going in the wrong direction. Their mindset and momentum is going in the absolute wrong direction. And me as a friend can't spend enough time with them to change that momentum. It's got to be coming from them, from within. And then they've got to fill their head with the right thoughts and the right mindset. And what I've found is the only way that has worked for me is to find videos, audios, not even videos, just listening to it on a loop, the words that you need to hear, from whatever perspective, from whatever background you come from, the words you need to hear, the words that make you feel good, the words that put you back on track and give you purpose and give you that positive mindset that refocus you on the right thing. And you put them in an audio, and you combine them with the music you like, and you combine them with other sounds that you like, and you get that momentum going in the right direction. And that is, I think, a huge, just a huge thing that you can do for yourself. And if you can turn someone on to that, I think that can really help someone. I know it has for me anyway.
Okay, once again, I'm going to go out on this. But what if you find somebody that they can even say the things that, that help, maybe for a brief moment, make them feel that way or see that way, but yet even in some of those words and those positive phrasing, those positive things, somehow they pull something out of that they take and internalize as negative, and they continue to do that, because too many people have been lost to like suicide. And in this case, sounds like in a roundabout way, this is what she did. She may not have totally took her own life in a way of taking it by slitting her wrist, but somehow she totally, seems to me like she totally gave up. And like in that last little bit, where she said, I can't remember exactly the way she said, but she even told herself basically, I don't want to live. I don't want to see tomorrow. So in that sense, how, because I know I've had my dark moments, but I've reached out to friends, and then I've also made that change and that point where, there's more to life than this. But for people who are so deep into it, and it almost, and I know we can't spend our days 24/7, doing whatever we can for them, that would be nice if we could, but at the same point, because we have our lives to live too. But I think sometimes we as humans also get to the point where we get so over that person being the way they are, because it then brings us down and bogs us down, and we don't want to keep going down that road. So then we kind of just turn off a little bit to it. So in this case, but I think she really felt she had nobody to turn to talk to, or that she felt like, why should I talk to them? They have their lives. They have what's going on with them. They have all the things they're going through. Why should I bother them with my life too? In that sense
Yeah,
too.
so I get what you're saying, and I get where you're going with. I understand you're playing devil's advocate and bringing up some good points, because this is very, things that I've experienced with people around me, and I understand that. I think, one thing that I kind of did recently actually was, because I had a really bad year last year with a couple of my friends passing away, and my father passing away, and just a lot of things before that, with everything with COVID and all that stuff. So, but you really do start to get in your own like shell, and start beating yourself up because things aren't moving in the directions you want, and it's easy to get into that a spiral, like a downward spiral. But to cut to the chase here, one of the things I did was to realize that we do, as we grow up, we do kind of get jaded from what was the things that have hurt us, or the letdowns and all this stuff. But there was a point in our lives where when we were younger, that we felt like the world was our oyster, kind of thing, or the world was glorious, and there was just so much opportunity, and we just looked forward to the day, or or was excited about it. And sometimes that's hard to kind of like go back and think, find that time. And what I found was interesting, that it was sort of helpful to take what, now this is after you've changed the momentum, sort of, after you've decided that, hey, I'm not going to continue down this spiral, that you have more respect for yourself, that you're not going to allow yourself to continue down the spiral, and you're going to fight for yourself, right? Because you have to fight for yourself. I mean, we're growing up, we were raised at a young age, we're told that everything's everything's roses, and people are supposed to be there for you, and you're and then we grow up and we realize that the world's not like that. So there's a lot of that contrast. And so then when you get to that point where, like, you really want to feel good, and you want to be moving in the right direction, but everything else is telling you, hanging on you like a heavy weighted blanket, then you have this resistance, because you feel like, well, that's just not how it is. But if you're able to take everything you've learned, all the wisdom that you've gained through overcoming or being inundated with these with life, and you say, okay, I'm gonna reset myself back to that childlike mindset where I thought everything was great, but now I'm going to give myself the wisdom to say, the world isn't exactly like that, but I'm going to feel like it is. But you can sort of, if you can shed that weighted blanket and take the move on from there with a better perspective, that's certainly a tool that has really helped me, I believe. Dude, that was just kind of a sidestep. I think changing the momentum, getting yourself to make a decision that you're going to move in the right direction. You're going to stop with the pessimism and the negativity, and you're going to stop thinking that you have to be something that someone else thinks that you think someone else or the world thinks you should be, because you don't know what the world thinks you should be, and it doesn't matter what the world thinks you should be. You just need to be yourself and move forward and towards whatever that ideal is that you decide. But it does help to put those positive words on a loop, find out whatever it is, whether it's the music, or whether it's some religion, or whether it's some just positive affirmations, or whatever. You seek that out and find that and put that together, and you're going to have to sacrifice some time. You're going to have to sacrifice being the victim. You're going to have to sacrifice feeling sorry for yourself. You're gonna, but if you can find someone. Another thing that helped was finding an authority that I found someone online that I felt like was an authority that could explain to me some of the hard things that we don't want to recognize, which is like about life, that you don't really, that we all gloss over, because we do want things to be better, and we're looking for things to be wonderful, and so we kind of gloss over the tough stuff. But to say, like, but like, one of the tough things to recognize is that it's all up to you. It is all up to you. And if you've never really, and that's a scary thought, and all those scary ideas, if you have an authority person that you can listen to that will kind of straighten you out on the aspects of like one thing I thought, like one authority figure told me that my parents weren't here to put a weren't here to take care of me. My parents weren't here to take care of me. That's not their universal job. That wasn't what that wasn't our contract in the universe, so to speak. And so I was thinking, gosh, well, that's tough to understand, even though I've had pretty good parents, really great in some ways, but other ways not so much. But for the people that whose parents just, for orphaned children or people's parents that treated them bad, that perspective kind of is like, well, takes that idea of, well, you were supposed to be there for me, and why weren't you there for me? And it says, wait, I'm thinking about it wrong. They have their own lives to live. This is the life that they're put into as well. And now I'm put into life just the same way they were. So I'm just thinking about it the wrong way. And if you allow yourself to change your perspective and change your focus, then I think that can make a huge difference. Let someone else speak. I'm sorry for going on so long.
I think that's a great thing to recognize, Jason. I mean, and this can go both ways for the kids as well as the parents. I mean, the kids did not come into this earth just to make the parent happy. That's not their responsibility either. I mean, we have this idea in our culture, for whatever reason, that everyone else has to make us happy, and that's not the truth. I mean, it has to come from the inside. And Dan, to kind of go back to the question that you asked earlier about, how do we help a person who's in that space, who's in that suicidal thoughts and situation? And you can't make it better for them, and you have to recognize that it's not your responsibility to fix it for them either, because we, as this group, we already know the only way that we can make anything better in our lives or change anything in our lives is when we work on it from the inside. And you can't make someone else do that. Now, sometimes, here's the big thing also, is if they are asking you for your help, you have opportunities where you can help to make them think in a different way. But if they're not asking for your help, you can't do anything. You can't even direct them. You can't even give them suggestions or advice, because they're not going to hear it. They're not going to listen. They're not going to do it. Because when they come to you and all they want to do is vent and complain and be upset and all of that, it's just because that's what they want to do. And, one thing that I have, one technique I've kind of used with a person in my life who is always in this victim mentality is, first off, when they start throwing all of that at me, is I stop it and I say, hang on a second, let me just ask you a question. First of all, are you telling me all of this because you just want to complain and vent and feel sorry for yourself, or are you coming to me because you're asking me for advice? And that makes them think for a second of what it is they really want. And if they just say, you know what, I just want to vent, then I'll let them vent and I won't offer any advice in any way, shape, or form. Now, if on the other hand, they're wanting to complain first and then ask for advice, then I ask them another question. I'm like, so what is it that you want to see happen in this situation? And how do you feel like you can make a change here? Because you have to recognize, and I tell them the same thing, and I've told everybody all along, is you have to recognize you cannot make another person do anything. You have to figure out what part you play in the situation and what can you change to change the dynamic of whatever it is you're trying to work on in your life. And like Jason said, I mean, if you're upset and you're depressed and you're struggling in your life, is there are so many things that you can do, whether it's reading books or listening to audios, or whether it's just recognizing that you have these spiraling negative thoughts in your head that you need to get under control. And I do some of the same things that what Jason was talking about. Is like when I find myself spiraling down and I recognize, oh shit, here I'm doing this again, is that I know I have things that I can turn to. So I have audios that I will just put on when I go to bed to let them just kind of play in the background of my mind, so that I can not stress about trying to make those thoughts stop, because I don't have to do that. I can just be like, okay, I can let these thoughts go and let this audio kind of wash over me and help me to get through that, help to change whatever brainwave activity is happening to cause me to to go into that spiral. I also can recognize that when I get into that spiraling thought thing, is that maybe I'm drinking too much coffee, and my cortisol levels are up too high. I mean, people don't realize it, but a lot of this is chemical in our brains, chemical things that are happening within us. And so if you have a person that's asking you for advice, one of the other things that I have done with this particular person is I don't tell them what I think they should do. I tell them stories of what I have done in the past, and I tell them stories of what I have seen other people do in the past. And because then it takes away this accusation aspect of the conversation of, I think you should do this or that, or if you would just do this or that, you would be fine, but we don't do that. It's like in the story with Nora and her friends and her family members, they're not doing that for each other. They're so caught up in the blame game that it's everybody else's fault, and or it's all my fault, and all I can do is see that it's all my fault and everything's falling apart, and then because everybody else is saying it's my fault, it must be my fault. She's not even recognizing that she is saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo to herself that she can stop saying to herself. She's not even recognizing that there's that possibility that maybe what I'm thinking is wrong, you know. But if she's not reaching out to people other than the people that are just as much of the problem as what she is, then she's never going to find that solution, and that's sad, but that's why it is so important to, when you find yourself in that space, if you're out there and you're watching what we're talking about here and you don't have another person, do it like Jason said. Look online, look for inspirational people online, look for people that, in a good book. I don't know what one you were referring to or what person you were referring to, Jason. It was telling you to, wake up and see that it's not your parents' responsibility to make your life great. But I read a book a number of years ago. It was called No Excuses, and it was written by like an army sergeant or something. And he was like, quit making excuses in your life. There's no reason. Every excuse you come up with, I can find an answer for you. Just look for the answers instead of making excuses. And those are big, powerful things that those books, they're a big smack in the face that you need, because they need to smack you out of your space that you're in right now, because you're depressed, you're upset, you're blaming, you're the victim, you're all of these things. And the only way to get out of that is to recognize that you've got a problem, and your problem is you're just stuck in your head and you're stuck in all this negative crap, and you need to smack yourself out of it. And sometimes it takes someone else to do it. But like I said, you can't do it for someone else. You can only do it for yourself. And if they want your advice, then sure, there's an opportunity there for you. Ask them questions versus just telling them things. That's a big thing, because then that makes them think the problem through. Questions are great for that. Particularly, I read a book a number of years ago. It's Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And his perspective on God is that God is not the one trying to tell you what to do and what not to do. He's trying to show you the path that you can go down to reach the happiness that you want. And he's just there to be like, which do you want? Which is it? Because right now you're going down the path to negativity and unhappiness and hell, if you will. You know, you're going down that path right now. You don't have to make those decisions. You don't have to think those thoughts. If you want to be in heaven, this is the way I'm showing you. You know, so it's just yeah, that's my thoughts for now.
I go back to, and like I said, I wasn't pointing any fingers at anybody or trying to, I was truly trying to play the devil's advocate because I love doing that, because I think it helps open up more conversation and helps make people think and really think about stuff, because of, sometimes, unless somebody is willing to go there and play that devil's advocate, sometimes people get afraid to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not. So with that, but it's interesting how this book that is a fiction piece, but yet, and I think we said it before, I really think this is based on something that this author either knew about or knew somebody or something within that realm and did it in this vein. But there's so much you can pull out of this, and so much, that can be gleaned out of this that, I missed the discussion last week, but I'm sure you guys had a great discussion. I need to go back and watch that. You know, that opens things up to, make you think, and hopefully makes ourselves think too of, oh, have I done this, or have I been acting like this? What can I do to change this? Or, or do I need to reach out to a friend I trust, or somebody that I, look up to that's an authority or something, for the, to hopefully either get that guidance, or a friend that's honest enough to smack us upside the face and say, no, what do you want? Where are you going? Or ask those questions to help lead to, giving us the answers that we need to move forward and alleviate, helping people step out of the doom and gloom and the depression and things like that, and getting out of that headspace and moving back to where they want to be. I just don't think they realize it at that time when they're in those moments, that that's where they really want to be. So, any other thoughts, anybody? We're at about 10 after the hour, so.
Yeah, I'll just say, like in earlier in the book, when she's talking about, all these different things that she's realizing about how to be a black hole is the name of the scene. But it seems like a lot of it kind of made me think about how the world reacts to us in a large way. These things that she's talking about, or mentioning some of these things anyways, like for instance, the person who said, oh, you don't have to worry about my pills and manage my pills, so and so is going to do that. And he starts it off by saying, good news, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And she's almost like, oh, see, nobody needs me anymore. But somewhere along the line, she must have portrayed the idea that it's kind of a burden. And so this person thinks he's providing her with good news, that she doesn't have to do that anymore. And she's thinking of it as in a negative way, because, it's of where she's coming from. And so I think sometimes, instead of putting the blame out there on other people, sometimes it's good to realize that the world is reacting to us in a lot of ways. And if we ask ourselves, what am I doing that is getting that response from people, then that gives us a starting point for where we can make the change.
I'm going to throw out too, I agree with what you were saying on how she responded, but I think in a way, I'm going to assume, based on like when she missed the lesson for, the one student, I think she's probably forgotten or missed picking up the pills that he probably really needs, for maybe, like me, I take my blood pressure pill, so I need it every day. So, that type, something like that, I'm going to bet that she probably forgot or skipped or didn't do it in a timely manner a few times. So he had to rethink and, like you said, respond to how she reacted. So he found somebody that moved closer, that's able to do it and willing to do it. And so far, you know, has said they'll do it. And that remains to be seen, but he seems more that it will be followed through more by this person rather than her. So yeah, but like I said, he was trying to convey it to her as good news. One thing less off your plate to worry about. You can focus on other things or whatever is happening in your life, and hopefully that would, for most of us, that would be a positive. Oh, thank you. I don't have to do that. Okay, I can focus on this now and put more energy. But she didn't.
Which just brings up the point that you never know where a person is at, and you need to be really careful about what you say to them and which advice you give them. Because for somebody that's in that place, being told that you just need to think positive or focus on something else is dismissive. I know that it's truth, but when you're at that low point, it's dismissive. And I had this happen to me yesterday. I can speak so clearly to, or not yesterday, day before yesterday. I went to a doctor to try to get help, and they were very dismissive of me. And if I wasn't a person that did this type of mindset work daily, if I had been Nora walking into that doctor's office and been treated the way that I was, Nora would have gone out and immediately killed herself. Immediately, because they left me with zero hope. And sometimes people just need to vent because you're the only person they feel safe doing that to. And not everybody has a relationship with God. Like, I vent to God because sometimes I feel like I don't have anybody that I can really vent honestly to, because maybe I don't want to overburden them. I know their burden, or whatever excuse I give myself, so it's when you're on this side of it, when you're doing this kind of work, when you've read the books that we've read, when you work on it every day, you can hear that information. And that's, thank God I walked out of there telling myself other things than what I was told in that office. So, but if I hadn't of, and so many people have never even read a book with these kinds of concepts. They don't know what the fuck mindset is. Sorry, but I mean, it's literally, they don't know these techniques. And so I just be careful, be gentle with people, because you don't know what they're going through, because nobody, you remember last week I mentioned like the public face, and then the private face, and then the secret face, and very, very rarely do we know people's secret shit going on. Like, we typically just get their public. So, just remember that people get to low places that they really don't know how to get out of. And sometimes we try to give, it's like when somebody dies, we try to say things to comfort them. And sometimes those things make it worse. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes we just don't know what to say. As for people that are in that low place, there are suicide hotlines where you can talk to somebody anonymously. And sometimes that helps because you don't want to go to your friend, or you don't want your family to know what's going on, or for whatever reason. So suicide hotlines are great because they're anonymous. And, Facebook groups are not. And if you say the word suicide in a Facebook group, the admin of that group is supposed to turn you in, like report that. So even though we use Facebook as a major communication tool these days, for some people, it's the only communication tool that they have. that is yet another area where they can't be honest with people and really reveal their true thinkings because they know they're going to get reported, you know. So having that anonymous option, and then you know, if you can do nothing else, this sounds so stupid, but just hum, because humming actually raises energetic vibration, and depression is a low energetic vibration, and if the only thing you can do is hum, you know, think about some song that used to make you happy when you were a kid or something, or maybe something that somebody sang to you that comforted you at some time, and just hum that to yourself. That little thing may just raise your vibration up just enough where you can get an extra thought in there that isn't so disastrous, because it is our thoughts that drive these things. We do have to recognize that. We do have to recognize that we're the only ones that can pull ourselves out of it. But being dismissed by somebody, or being being
Patronized?
it's a yes, that's good. Go ahead, Lori. I know you can speak to this too.
I was just trying to fill in the word that I thought you were searching for, being patronized.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. Being patronized. It, it it's not always
Invalidated?
helpful. That's all. Invalidated. That's another one. You know, that's a really good invalidated, because these are feelings that people are having. These are real fucking feelings, you guys, that people are having, that they have no purpose, that they can't even keep a cat alive, that they can't even have a conversation. And this is where I was at when I was so dismissed, and patronized and invalidated. I couldn't speak. I couldn't communicate to them uh, what they were, how I was receiving the information. I'm not going to say how they made me feel, because technically nobody makes you feel anything. You feel it. What you feel is on you, you know. But again, that's like not helpful when you're there. I'm just telling you, like, and I could not speak to these people. I had to like get up and just run out and get out of their presence. And if I hadn't been somebody who works on mindset, it could have gone a lot of different ways. I'm telling you, it could have gone me taking my life. It could have gone me going back in there and doing things that people are doing these days, and nobody understands. Why are people, you know, taking out groups of people, and, you know, why are people so violent, this, that, and the other? It's because people's feelings are being invalidated and dismissed and ignored, and they get to that point. They do get to that point where that's how they feel about things. And so just be careful out there and love people as much as you can. And I love you guys so much, and I'm so glad to be here.
So glad to be here too. We all need more love, not less.
That's right. Thank you, Matt, for that.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said there, Catherine, because those are great points to remember. And I think that's something we all forget sometimes. You know, and I'm going to say this, I think we both have been on both sides of the coin, you know, and I know I have. And, you know, that's just truth and honesty on that part. So, you know, the more love that I put out, and that's what I wanted to do, is put out more love and more, you know, caring and lifting people up. So, you know, I take what you just said to heart, in light of everything that we're talking about right now.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And just want to say that one of the things that has really helped is in realizing that I'm no different than anyone else. That even if you've had suicidal thoughts, even if you've had terrible depression, even if you felt like everything you've been doing is a failure, even if you feel like nothing's can go right or whatever, that everybody has felt that at some point in their life. Everybody. You're not broken, you're not wrong or bad or anything like that. Everyone has felt those things, but they've chosen not to focus on it, and they've chosen to focus on something else. It's a lot more different when you have something that's pervasive in your life that continues to be difficult for you. There's, everyone has different things that are, but one of the things that have helped me is to realize that in so many ways, everyone's had to go through this. It's like with the successful people failing so much. You'll see these successful people and they think, oh, they just had these charmed lives and they've never had anything go wrong. And but when they actually talk to them, they tell you about how many times they failed in life. Like Michael Jordan saying how many times he had to fail to get to where he actually achieved what he achieved. And or Einstein or any of these people that they all have huge amounts of failures. It's just where they decided to focus their energies and their thoughts that allowed them to, that directed where their life went. And I know that when you're in a deep state of depression, that's, it's hard to even hear that or listen to that, because that's why I was saying it starts with being able to make that decision for yourself, that you're going to leave that depression or whatever it is alone and fill your mind with other things. And like I said, I understand this group has been great for me, because a lot of the things like the resistance, the thought patterns, the things that you come about in your mind while you're trying to make progress, if you don't know where those things are coming from, then it can kind of mess up your track a little bit. But because even once you do get that momentum, once you make that decision and you get that momentum, you're going to still feel that you're going to still feel resistance when you go to listen to those positive things or to go to read that positive book. You're going to feel that it's going to almost hurt, because part of you doesn't want to give up and let go of the pain you've been holding on to. And but you have to realize you have to recognize it for what it is. And sometimes I'll put these audios on and I don't even want to listen to them, but I'll just put them on and I'll try to just fall asleep, because I know I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have these positive thoughts, or these not even necessarily positive, but helpful thoughts, helpful ideas, understandings about the world, understandings about how things can work out, how things do work, from authorities. But the words that you need to be hearing all the time. And like I said, it's that resistance will keep me from even wanting to listen to it, but I'll just go ahead and do it anyway. And let it, like you said, Samantha, just wash over me. But there is, along the path, you will get that resistance, and you will, and you just got to be ready for it. And it's a group like this that has helped me in the books that we've listened to and read, and all you great people in this group that have all your points and opinions and ideas that have really helped me to make a mind shift and kind of progress to each next level. And I want to say thank you for for being you. You've had an impact on my life. I really appreciate it, and appreciate this group. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. And I'm just want to, I mean, I'll throw this out there that if you're a prey animal and you're out there and being chased by the predator and you get away, that animal or doesn't have the emotions in that keep him thinking, oh, I'm terrible, I'm not gonna, all those negative thoughts. And 2 minutes after he's gotten safe, he goes back to normal and goes about his merry way. And so not letting those emotional things keep you in that flight and fright state. Just move on. Love you all. Have a great week.
Quick caveat to that, Lori, they shake. If you watch an animal, they physically shake. And that is an excellent tool for humans to learn to shake and move their body to release energy. Look it up, Google it.
Well, with that,
Yeah. Anything?
you muted yourself accidentally, Jason.
You're still muted, Jason.
I was saying that's a great point. Anything to expel that energy. Exercise and like you're saying, shaking is anyway. Sorry about that.
He was just doing an exercising and shaking and shaking his voice without having anything be heard.
And now my tremors are not contagious, so knock it off.
So with that, great discussion today. Thanks for what everybody said. I know I love and appreciate you all. I know you guys have helped me through lots of things myself, and this group means so much to me personally. That's why I come back, week after week and book after book, and because I think there's something very real here between all of us that it's hard to get with other groups and other people and other things. When you see other groups or other things, I don't think they have the same feeling like we all have for each other, the amount of love we all have for each other. So with that, if you want to catch up on all of the videos and things we've done from this book and in the past, you can always go to our Facebook page, Mindset Mastery Collective. You can get all the information to find where to go find the videos and stuff. You can also go to our YouTube channel, mindsetmasterycollective.com. Mindset Mastery Collective there. You can see all the videos and catch up. If you want to be on the panel, once again, go to the Facebook page or our website at mindsetmasterycollective.com. You can get all the information there. We would love to have other people on, other thoughts, other views, other insights. But we look forward to next week and hope you'll come back and join us next week for the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.